You have seen it in photos. You have seen it on maps. 13,000 miles of stone and brick, stretching across mountains, deserts, and valleys. One of the greatest structures ever built by human hands. The Great Wall of China. Tourists visit it every day, photograph it, admire it, call it magnificent. But underneath those stones, underneath the very ground tourists walk on, are the bones of 1 million human beings. Workers who built it, died building it, and were buried inside the wall itself. The most visited monument on Earth is also the world's largest graveyard. And the story of how it was built is one of the darkest stories in all of human history. Before we go into the darkness, let's start with what most people think they know about the Great Wall. Fact 1. Most people believe the Great Wall was built by one emperor in one period. Wrong. The Great Wall was not one wall. It was a series of walls built, rebuilt, extended, and connected over 2,000 years by dozens of different dynasties. Fact 2. Most people believe you can see the Great Wall from space. Also wrong. NASA astronauts have confirmed the wall is too narrow to be visible from orbit with the naked eye. Fact 3. Most people believe the wall successfully kept invaders out. Mostly wrong. The Mongols, the very people the wall was primarily designed to stop, went around it, through it, and over it. Genghis Khan reportedly crossed it multiple times. So what is the Great Wall really? It is the most ambitious construction project in human history. Stretching 21,196 kilometers, longer than the distance from New York to Sydney and back, built across some of the most brutal terrain on Earth. Mountain peaks, desert valleys, sheer cliffs, places where just surviving was an achievement, let alone building a wall. The story of the Great Wall begins with one of the most extraordinary and terrifying rulers in human history. Qin Shi Huang. In 221 BC, he did something no one had done before. He unified the 7 warring states of China into one empire. He became the first emperor of China, and immediately, he thought on a scale that no human being had attempted before. He standardized weights and measures across the empire, built a network of roads and canals, created a unified writing system, and ordered the construction of something so ambitious. His own advisors thought he had gone mad. A wall. Not a city wall, not a fortress wall. A wall along the entire northern border of China, to keep out the nomadic tribes, primarily the Xiongnu, who had been raiding Chinese settlements for generations. He appointed his greatest general, Meng Tian, to oversee the project, and gave him resources on a scale the ancient world had never seen. 300,000 soldiers, 500,000 conscripted laborers, and an order that was simple and absolute. Build the wall, whatever it takes, whatever the cost. What followed was one of the most brutal construction projects in human history. The workers, called corvée laborers, were not volunteers. They were conscripted, forced. Farmers pulled from their fields, criminals sentenced to labor, soldiers assigned to construction, scholars who had displeased the emperor. They came from every corner of China, and they were sent to the most remote, harsh, unforgiving places in the empire. Mountain ridges where temperatures dropped to -30 degrees in winter, Desert sections where summer heat killed men who stopped moving. Cliff faces where workers were lowered on ropes to carve footholds into sheer rock. They worked from dawn to dark, 7 days a week, with no defined end to their sentence. Food was inadequate, water was scarce, medical care was non-existent. If you became too sick to work, you were left where you fell. If you tried to escape, you were executed on the spot as an example to the others. If you died, your body was often simply incorporated into the wall itself, buried in the foundations, sealed inside the structure. Because stopping construction to transport bodies back to their home villages was considered a waste of time. Ancient Chinese records suggest that during the Qin dynasty phase of construction alone, approximately 400,000 workers died. 400,000 people, buried in and around the wall they were building. This is why the Chinese gave the Great Wall another name, the Long Graveyard, or the Wall of Tears. And the Qin dynasty was just the beginning. When Qin Shi Huang died in 210 BC, his empire quickly collapsed, but the wall remained. And every dynasty that followed extended it, rebuilt it, added to it. The Han dynasty, which followed the Qin, extended the wall westward into the deserts of Central Asia. An additional 10,000 kilometers of wall. More workers conscripted, more deaths, more bones in the foundations. Han records describe workers dying at such rates that local officials had trouble finding enough people to maintain even basic agriculture. Entire villages were depopulated, everyone taken for wall construction, fields left unfarmed, people left to starve. The Sui dynasty in the 6th century AD rebuilt and extended the wall again. Historical records from the Sui period are almost unreadable in their horror. Emperor Yang, one of history's most notoriously brutal rulers, conscripted 1 million workers for a single construction campaign. Of those 1 million, according to Chinese historical records, half died. 500,000 people dead in a single campaign on a single wall. And still, the greatest phase of construction had not even begun. The Great Wall that tourists visit today, the magnificent stone structure winding across mountain ridges in dramatic photographs, was built primarily by the Ming dynasty. Between 1368 and 1644 AD, the Ming had good reason to build. They had just overthrown the Mongol Yuan dynasty, the descendants of Genghis Khan who had conquered all of China, going around and through the earlier walls. The Ming were determined that this would never happen again. They rebuilt the wall using fired brick, far stronger and more durable than the packed earth of earlier walls. They added watchtowers, positioned so that each tower could see the next, creating a communication system where smoke signals could carry warnings across thousands of kilometers in just a few hours. They added cannon platforms, integrating the latest military technology into the ancient structure. The Ming Wall was not just a barrier. It was a military communications network, a supply chain, a fortified highway allowing rapid movement of troops. And building it required millions of workers, hundreds of thousands of soldiers assigned to construction, civilian laborers conscripted from across China. Ming records describe workers being away from their families for years at a time. Letters home discovered by archaeologists describe starvation, cold, exhaustion, and despair. Written by men who knew they would likely never see their families again. But what about the claim that bodies were actually buried inside the wall? For centuries, this was considered legend, A dramatic story, not literal truth. Then, archaeologists started digging. In 2007, during restoration work on a section of the wall near Zhuyongguan Pass, workers discovered human remains inside the wall structure itself. Not beside the wall, not beneath it, inside it, incorporated into the brick and stone. Further excavations along different sections revealed similar findings. Skeletal remains of men who appeared to have died of exhaustion, malnutrition, and trauma. Their bodies simply built into the structure when they fell. DNA analysis of some remains has confirmed they were Han Chinese males, consistent with the conscripted laborers of the various construction periods. A study by the University of Science and Technology of China examined remains found along wall sections and confirmed that burial of workers within the wall structure was not rare, it was common. The wall was built fast, workers were expendable, transportation of remains was impossible in remote locations, and so the dead became part of the structure, literally holding the wall together. The most visited tourist attraction in the world contains the physical remains of the people who built it. The human tragedy of the Great Wall is captured in one of China's most famous folk stories. The legend of Meng Jiangnu. A young woman whose husband, Wan Shiliang, is conscripted to build the Great Wall shortly after their wedding. She waits months, hears nothing, decides to bring him warm winter clothes herself. She travels thousands of miles to the wall and discovers her husband is dead, died of exhaustion, buried somewhere in the wall itself. Meng Jiangnu weeps at the wall. She weeps for so long, so deeply, so desperately, that according to the legend, a section of the wall crumbles under the force of her grief, revealing her husband's bones inside. This story, told and retold across China for over 2,000 years, is not remembered because it is supernatural. It is remembered because it captures something true. Every stone in that wall had a human cost. Every kilometer represented grief like Meng Jiangnu's, repeated millions of times. After all this death, all this suffering, all this construction, did the Great Wall actually work? The honest answer, partially, sometimes, not always. The wall was effective at controlling movement, not stopping invasion. It regulated trade and migration, collected taxes at official gates, allowed early warning of raids through its signal tower system. Small-scale Xiongnu raids it largely stopped, but major invasions? The Xiongnu went around it regularly in the Han period. The Jurchen people breached it and established the Jin dynasty in northern China in the 12th century. Genghis Khan crossed it multiple times, sometimes by going around, sometimes by simply bribing the Chinese garrison commanders to open the gates. And in 1644, the final irony. The wall that had been built to keep out northern invaders was opened from the inside. A Chinese general, Wu Sungui, dealing with an internal rebellion, actually invited the Manchu people from the north through the wall to help him. The Manchu stayed, conquered all of China, established the Qing dynasty. The wall had failed at its ultimate purpose, but it had cost millions of lives in the attempt. Today, the Great Wall of China is one of the most photographed places on Earth. 10 million tourists visit it every year. They walk the same stones that were laid by hands that are now dust. They stand on foundations that hold the bones of people who had names, had families, had lives they were taken from. Men who were pulled from their villages and sent to the ends of the earth. who built something that has lasted 2,000 years and never saw their families again. The Great Wall is magnificent. It is also a monument to human suffering on a scale that is almost impossible to comprehend. The next time you see a photograph of it, winding across those beautiful mountain ridges, remember what is underneath those stones. Remember the 400,000 who died in the Qin period alone. Remember the 500,000 who died in a single Sui dynasty campaign. Remember Meng Jiangnu weeping at the wall. The Great Wall of China is the world's largest graveyard, not as a metaphor, as a literal fact. And the people buried inside it deserve to be remembered. If this video gave you something new, like it. It helps this channel more than you know. Subscribe for more deep dives into the hidden human stories behind history's greatest monuments. And tell me in the comments, would you visit the Great Wall differently now, knowing what lies beneath it? I will see you in the next one.